Our guest today is no stranger to podcasting. Matt Smith is the owner of the Snooze Mattress franchise, currently with over 30 units. And in some circles, he's actually famous, as he was part of the Undercover Billionaire series, where you can witness his many successes as an entrepreneur. But I want to talk today about his people leadership side, specifically around how he hires and manages in a franchise environment. Matt has an infectious personality, unwavering positivity, and I would say almost limitless energy. Matt, welcome to How I Turned the Corner.
Oh, what an incredible introduction. I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it is. So, if anybody who follows you knows your backstory, but I'm going to kind of assume that my listeners haven't found you yet. Now they will. But do you mind giving a brief background around how you even got into Snooze Mattress and how you started this? But kind of, telling a little bit about more your corporate background too, because I think it's going to tie really nicely into the overall conversation.
Yeah. Long story short, I was, raised in Pueblo, Colorado, right down the street from you. And, ultimately raised by a single mom, didn't really understand money or any of that stuff. So I was always trying to figure it out. And I think at a young age, actually, I was selling cell phones in a Walmart kiosk. I got recruited into selling mattresses. And at 19 years old, I started selling mattresses and got my first commission check. I thought I was like the richest 19-year-old on the planet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy a jet and Ferrari and all this stuff. But really it just opened my eyes. Like, okay, the money that was in the business, but really something that I really enjoyed. I ended up dropping out of college, went head first into this game and started buying real estate. And then when that market started to crash, I got into the business world. I bought a franchise at 25-ish. I got into a gym in Pueblo West called Snap Fitness. So I really started to learn the franchise game at an early age, and I started to learn the mattress game. So I'm selling mattresses by day. I had a franchise. And then at that point, I opened several other businesses, spas, tuxedos, all kinds of different things, carpet cleaning. And I just kind of was learning the business world and how businesses function and how to make money and how they're all kind of the same, but they're all different. But really ultimately met my soulmate, had 3 kids, and left the corporate world working for somebody else and said, you know what, all right, we've learned a lot. We've been kind of this side hustle entrepreneur, and it was time to kind of do it on our own. And I think when Snooze was born, it was the lessons that I had learned for 18 years in the mattress industry, 15 years, 14 years, something in the franchise industry of kind of what to do and what not to do. And the mission was kind of like, how do we really disrupt 2 industries where from a franchise standpoint, it's tough. There's a lot of food industries that are, small margins, high employees, high turnover. Owner gets stuck working in the business all the time versus on it. And in the mattress industry, like in 1980s, the mattress firm was born, and that was the first mattress store. And really, since the 80s, nothing's changed in the industry. It's the same old stuff. It's ranks number 2 to used car sales out there of what not to do. So Snooze was kind of born on like sleep is the human superpower. Why aren't we talking more about sleep and health and wellness than we are about a mattress price or a sale or what else is going on there? Because ultimately, if you're a mom, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an athlete, sleep affects it, and it affects our longevity. And so our mission has been to kind of disrupt the 2 industries, help grow the messaging. And we're at an all-time high right now of health and wellness, ice baths and red light therapy and organic and all that stuff. So really it's been a blessing of, started with one store in Pueblo West right during COVID, turned it into a franchise. After COVID, started franchising out. Yeah. And like you said, we're somewhere around 40 locations. We got people coming in tonight. They're in Denver right now to fly into Florida as well. We're in Ireland. We're going into UK and London and a few different areas out there as well. So it's been fun. We're having fun changing the world of sleep.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that sleep has just in the last few years become such an important part of the health and wellness industry. For so long, it was like a badge of honor to be like, I pulled an all-nighter, or I only slept 2 hours. And then finally, which always just drove me crazy, finally it's become part of like, oh, how'd you sleep last night? And, actually becoming something that's in conversation, which we can talk about later as well. But I think it's just a fantastic way that you go about kind of bringing the message in, and important too. So, but back to the franchising. So tell me then, what do you notice about managing a team that isn't really your employees? Like, what are your tricks for this?
It's an incredible question. And it's probably one of the most vulnerable, difficult things that I've done, because I will tell you that when I got Open Snooze, I felt like I was probably one of the best in the world at what I did. But then I kind of left the mattress industry and got into the people industry overnight. Like franchising is not, are you a better mattress salesperson? Are you better at selling? No, it is absolutely positively people and dealing with people and people's livelihoods, So I think, what we've learned an incredible amount of lessons out of it, but it really is about hiring the right people, as you know. I mean, that is the key to being successful, and bringing in the right franchisees. I learned touched my own hot fires at the beginning of this too, not bringing in people that might not have fit. And it's because because of it, I guess I should say, we've now created the core values that we have. We've created the vetting process where I vet people very heavily to get into the system. And we try everything we can to protect that culture from top to bottom, and help through data as well too, not always just impulse, but our feelings. It's got to be through as much data as possible for people to grow. So I think we've gotten a lot better. Every single day we're going to get better, but I think it's always going to be one of those exciting challenges of people are a beautiful thing, and trusting people and is always the right thing, but it always sometimes backfires, and there's always things that are going to happen. And I don't care how good you are at this, there's going to be something that was like a surprise. But it's like raising children. They're all three different children that I have.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the fun part too, right?
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. If you have the right tools in your toolbox, and then you have the right resources, you can do great as a business owner or as a parent. It's when you don't have those resources though, and as you probably know, growing up with a single mom, I mean, hands off to her totally for being able to raise an amazing human being on her own. But I'm sure many days she felt resourceless.
100%.
Yeah. And I think that it's an important thing to remember too as a business owner, because so many of us think it is going to be about selling the product, and it isn't. It's about the people. And when you have an employee that you can't trust or you can't count on, or matter of fact, let me flip it the other way around. When you have an employee that will help you go to sleep at night because you know that they're going to help you weather whatever thing it is that woke you up, as well as a good mattress,
Yeah.
that's going to be, that is a game changer. And yet, one of the things I love about working with franchises, and I also feel really frustrated by, is that many franchises are about the people, the systems, and the process. That's how they scale. But they're really not about the people. When I dig into a playbook, or I dig into the operating agreements, there really isn't here's what you do when an employee doesn't show up. Here's what you do and the questions you want to ask in an interview to ensure you've got the right people. Here is what happens when an employee screws up a customer situation. Like, there's nothing in those playbooks, because those situations are impossible to predict. So that's where then training and support and building up their toolbox is such an important thing. So why I get frustrated is that very few franchisors do that. I'm curious, what are you doing for your people? Because it feels like you've got a little bit better system around this than others.
I think one thing I learned from my own franchise experience was just, the over communication part is that is, to me, is probably one of the key to success of relationships, success of business, and everything else. And I think what we've learned is to give them, like you're saying, the tools to make sure that they can be successful, and then give them the data to be able to follow a lot of those tools. But then it's like, what are we doing on a daily basis to give them training? So we do 3 days a week. We do some kind of sales training with the teams. We do marketing training with them. We have boots on the ground with them. We have data to help them grow that. But it really is like, you got to show them love, sometimes tough love, sometimes regular love, but either way, you're giving them love to be successful. I think the worst thing you can do in franchising or business in general is like, here's the keys, go figure it out yourself. Call me if you need anything. In my franchise, it was a young franchise that I bought into when I was in my early 25. But when I bought into it, it was definitely that. They were like, there you go, kid, figure it out, and there were some tough times that I had, and there was not any there. And I knew when we opened this, we couldn't be about, hey, let's see how much we could charge. Let's charge a little bit, and let's maximize who we can bring into the system and bring in the right people to be able to scale this. So I think over communication is probably one of those things that I'm sure is in your playbook all day, every day, is like, it's just, you got to be able to relate to what's going on and be empathetic to what's going on. But bringing in the right people and making sure they have the right tools is what we've, we as a franchise, where it keeps me up at night is if I don't know that if there's a success challenge that we don't have the problem for, that's on me, and we've had to build that. I've got the best teams in the world. I've got, the best employees in the world. We did this backwards, where I hired all the best, and then I started franchising because I refused to go out there and try to learn on somebody else's, money or somebody else's business model. So, and I think it's working out well. We've been very, very blessed out there. So.
Yeah, that's great. So what are some of your, can you open up the, let's see, I guess the drawer and tell us a little bit more about like what do you do for your people in terms of helping get them some of those tools?
Yeah, I mean, so we have, I mean, LMS. We just got done putting together 100 hours of LMSs, and I was filming in pajamas last week and the week before from everything about like how do you run the play, what is the playbook, and how do you run it. And I'll tell you, like our three non-negotiables. I tell everybody that's hiring at the front line, that's me bringing on franchise, whatever it is one, you got to be a good human. And Kendra said, sorry, like there's nothing worse. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what. If you are not good people, I want nothing to do with your money, and I want nothing to do with this. And it's just I've had to learn that the hard way in life, because when you do this for the wrong reasons, it is 10 times harder, and then it creates a culture that is unfair to everybody else out there. So it's good humans. I'm at a blessed point in my life that I can only bring in good people, whatever it is. Two is you got to be coachable. And, I think that if you're not coachable, you shouldn't buy a franchise, because you've got to be able to listen and follow a system and process to be successful. And I say from a coachable standpoint, I tell everybody that comes in as well, too, is like, I'm as coachable as it gets. And our entire executive team is, if there's a better way to do it, I promise you, I'm going to listen and I'm going to try to fix it. The only way you disrupt an entire category and how people sleep better is by finding out what is Kendra doing in her business that we can learn from? What did Tesla do? What is Nike doing? What is Facebook? Like, how do you bring in something different and a different perspective on there to kind of win out there, and understand what's out there, and never thinking that we got to figure it out. And then the third one is grit, as in any business, is you got to put in the work. I don't care how much our systems are great and how much we've proven this over and over again. If you don't have a fire in your belly when you wake up in the morning to win, this is probably not for you either,
Mm-hmm.
because you got to want to win. And entrepreneur stuff is hard. I mean, there's just all there's to entrepreneurship. You will smile one day and think you're the smartest man alive, and then there'll be another day that you think that it's sky is falling, and that's a part of what you sign up for. That's a blessing of what we sign up for as well too. But it's it takes that grit every day to wake up and say, I'm gonna figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, from our standpoint, those are our three non-negotiables, and then we really build around that. Like our LMS, our daily processes, our training. Our LMS has got scorecards where they have to do so much to earn their pajamas. Before you even get these pajamas to sell your first sleep system, you got to go through weeks of training to make sure that you understand, what the human body does, and understand sleep and overall health and wellness as well too. So we try really hard to protect the culture from. I essentially work for our team. Our team works for the franchisees. Our franchisees work for that guest that walks in that store every single day. And what is that ultimately at the end of it? What's that guest experience? And, what are we building from the top down to make sure that that's consistent everywhere out there?
Yeah. And I think that that's the biggest challenge for franchisors. I mean, that's been my experience, is that I'm personally a consumer of many franchisees or franchisors. And I won't name the one that I'm going to really reference because it's not fair. They're not here to defend themselves. But I have one franchise that I frequent quite often, and I travel a lot for speaking and such. And I will find that one of those franchisees in the local city that I go to, that I'm in at the time, to get a workout in. And anyway, I have found the experience to be remarkably different from city to city, from franchisee to franchisee. And so that is why I actually started working in that industry, as I thought, as a business owner, I would not want that to be the experience of my guests, basically. I would want them to feel like it's a pretty consistent experience from location to location, because that's the magic of a franchise, is that people know what to expect. And if you're getting a different experience, I just don't think that's the goal. And
Yeah.
so, I now realize that what the biggest reason for that is the way the franchisee and the manager or the unit owner, how they treat their staff and what they expect from their staff. And so when you think about that expectation, not just about knowing, the human body and sleep, like what are some of the other expectations you have aside from the three values too, which I think are great, a great way to hire. But what are other things you really expect from each of your franchisees in terms of how they show up every day?
I mean, showing up every day is a good start there, is that you're really making sure that they are showing up and they're taking this seriously. It's not a side. I mean, I've got this sign here on my wall. It's one of my favorite quotes, burn the boats. You've probably heard that before,
Mm-hmm.
but in a famous war, when they landed on land and said, burn the boats, we're going to win this. We're going to die trying. And I think that any entrepreneur or anybody that wants to be successful, you have to be able to burn the boats and say, I'm going to figure this out one way or another. So from our franchisees, we expect the same in return of good humans, and making sure that they're communicating with us. Like, what's going on? I mean, I still tell everybody, one of my biggest pet peeves in our system is, like, if somebody has a problem and they don't call me, and I'm like, I've been here and done this for a long time, 27 years now. I understand this industry, I know how to fix it, but you've got to be able to communicate. You call me if there's a problem. Don't just fester and hold that in, but I think our reciprocal is every week we're meeting with them as well too. So what are they doing to help us? What are we doing to help them? And then we have a franchise advisory board that we've consisted of, 8 of our franchisees. That's what that board consists of. Is it's there to communicate together without me being on the meeting and saying, Matt, you suck at this, or Matt, this is going wrong, or Matt, great job over here. Whatever it is, it should be a voice where it is, tell me what we're doing that we can do better. We're never going to be perfect. We're pushing an envelope. The reason they bought into this is because I will continue to drive this, push this change, and be the future of sleep and overall wellness. But with that comes damage control sometimes, and I've been going through in the last couple of weeks on some different projects that we lost. And it's a part of this, but it is a part of like communication and over communication. We do a yearly Snooze Fest in Denver last year. We're back in Colorado Springs this year, but we do an annual Snooze Fest. We bring everybody in, vendors, teams, employees, and we just really get to culture. To your point, that's probably when it all comes down to it. Yes, we'll teach you sales, finance, and all this stuff, but it comes down to like, what is the culture of our business model, and are we having fun? Are we really making a difference out there? In communicating back and forth with our team? And is that starting at the top all the way down to the bottom? And if it's not, where are we missing the gap inside of that? And that becomes the data side, which is, I think where we're at right now. And I think of businesses in general, you get to a point of like growth where you kind of grew too fast. And then it's like, now it's really tighten everything in there and then grow faster, and then tighten, then grow faster, and then tighten. And I think we're kind of at some of those phases right now.
Mm. That's interesting. That's a lot like there's a lot of just in general biological things that do well like that too. So I always find it interesting when there's like a parallel even just to something in our broader, I guess, world and ecosystem. But you're right. Things grow the best when they've had time to rest.
Yeah, sometimes. And you also I think it's business is if you run hard, like I'm not an overthinker. It's one of my best traits and my worst traits is I don't overthink anything. I run and I go. And I think that is why we've gotten to as fast as we have. But that with that comes, okay, pause for a second. Let's make sure we got everything figured out before we go back and run to the next 100. If we brought in 500 right now, we'd be in a lot of trouble. So we can't do that. But going from, 8 at the beginning of last year to 40 at the end of last year, it brought its own challenges. That's a lot of, I guess it's pressure testing on a lot of different things to get us to the next level on that. So now I think we've pressure tested. We've hired some great, incredible people. We've tightened all the systems. Now we're ready to run again to London and wherever else we're going next. So
that's great. So what is an ideal franchise or unit owner for you? Like, what are you looking for?
Honestly, those are the 3 things. I mean, we've seen a lot of people that have been in business. We've got one of the top Jimmy John's franchisees in our system, top Osteo Strong franchisees. Dallas is one of the top Domino's Pizza franchisees. So people that have got some franchise experience in the past. This is one of those industries I would put us. I mean, we were at a London conference last week, and it's a giant franchise conference. I'd put us toe to toe against any franchise in the world because really you have 2 employees. They're wearing pajamas. They're changing people's lives every day. They're having fun. And everybody sleeps. So, Kendra, everybody out there, it's like, how you sleeping tonight? 67% of Americans are sleeping bad. All you gotta do is get them into your store and teach them how to get a better night's sleep. And you're going to change their life. You're going to make a few bucks at it as well. And you're going to have some fun doing it. But not everybody goes to a gym. Not everybody likes chicken. Not everybody wants to go to certain franchise things, but everybody sleeps. And, most people don't know how to fix their sleep. So it becomes that, how hard do you want to work? You can do state fairs, Airbnbs, hotels. There's so many different things out there. So I would say from a experience standpoint, somebody that's got some kind of franchise or business experience definitely doesn't hurt. Somebody that's got big dreams to open multiple locations. One store is always hard for anybody. When you get to 3 to 5 or 10 stores, it becomes a whole lot easier of a system inside of that. But yeah, I mean, I think, but it will work even with one store. You can work in the right community. And we've got Woodland Park in a little tiny town is crushing records day by day. And there's a town of 4,000 people, I think, and they're crushing it, 5,000 people, something like that. It's a small little town, but they're doing really, really well. But just incredible humans. That's a Mattress experience. I knew them from my past life and wanted to do it on their own. And they're doing it, raising their family. And it's a husband and wife that are in those stores. So it's been a blessing. So I don't think in franchisees there's such thing as a one size fits all. I think it really does come down to, my commitment to my franchisees and my team is that I will personally know everybody that comes into our system. I will know their family and I will know who they are. I'm not brokering out to say, go sell 100 franchises for me and I'll just get to know them later. Like we will know them personally as we grow this community. Because this isn't a hire somebody and you can fire them and they can fire you. This is a 10-year long-term commitment and you're going to go to war together and you're going to have fun together and you're going to cry together. And there's a lot there. So it's really about bringing those right people. But,
Hmm. What's interesting is I listen to you talk. So the majority of our clients, I would say, are your more traditional, just corporate structures, privately owned, maybe private equity backed, but, owned by one leader. And when I think about what you're saying in your particular business, especially, it's really the model makes it so that you have to be a servant leader. You
Mhm.
cannot run a successful business, a successful franchise without being that servant leader. And I think a lot of CEOs will say that they're a servant leader. But I really think, Matt, you are a true servant leader because you can't be, you really can't be the one to be like command and control and saying, do it my way because of the independence of all the different operators. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, it really does. No, I appreciate the comment. And yeah, I mean, I think you're right though. I mean, you can't not be a servant leader in this industry and do it. I mean, do it the right way. I guess the way I think you and I would see it the right way. Like, it's not about how much money can you make and how much can you grow and how fast can you grow. It's really about doing the right thing by the person on the front line and all the way up to the front. I think you have to be a servant leader and you have to care. I think we talked about it maybe even before the podcast, is like you got to care about more things than just making money. And I think that's the beauty of where we're at, is like, I grew up with nothing. I'm not in this for that. I've never been in this to say how much money can we make and how much can we do this. It really is. We're in this. We say on every one of our calls, 20 million people, in the United States, 200 million people globally because of the brand Snooze, and we're going to change the world to sleep and help 200 million people sleep better. And through education, even if they don't buy from us, we want to make sure that they understand. And we partnered with Gary Brecka recently. I think the number one face of health and wellness out there. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary, but he's incredible. Health and wellness podcast. Partner with Tim Story, on mental, so we're building a mattress and some different lines with him because this is still a part of why people don't sleep, so we're really trying to tap into the other sides of helping educate sleep as the human superpower. Not, I don't want to go buy a mattress because there's gonna be some sleazy guy at the door that's going to try to give me a deal and make me buy a bed that's in his best interest. Get out of that industry and get into, like, let's talk about sleep. And we use technology, we map the body. I mean, we'll be the innovators on the front line of all of that. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, yes, I can kind of go around about to that, but appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think it's really neat. And before we kind of conclude the interview, I think we should just talk about sleep for a minute. Even though this has not a lot to do with necessarily culture and indirectly has a lot to do with business, but I don't know if you would agree that with this, and so correct me. But I think a few years ago, Ariana Huffington started to talk about the importance of sleep, and I feel like it really changed the conversation. I started hearing more and more people, and especially in leadership circles, talk about the need for more sleep. It was the first time in my experience as an entrepreneur that I started to feel a little bit more aware of even my own sleep patterns. But
Mm-hmm.
can you just talk about some of the benefits of getting a good night's sleep? Like, what are some of the ways you sell it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is I mean, if you looked at my office back here, it's like a science lab of like acid reflux and what is snoring and how do you talk to somebody about what's going on in here and this. But I think that, like, there's so many challenges that people have that, I mean, for one, or not, sleep apnea. 80% of Americans that have sleep apnea go undiagnosed or untreated. 80%. And a lot of them are just like, I don't want to go talk to a doctor. And, my husband or wife is elbowing me all night. You're quitting breathing and you have sleep apnea or whatever. But they don't understand how better they would feel if they could just, go get help or get an adjustable bed, sometimes lose a few pounds, whatever it may be. It's like, how do I help find out what the human's problems are? But I think from a sleep standpoint, as we started to talk, I mean, it is the human superpower. And it was cool 10 years ago, 30 years ago, 100 years ago. Like, I get 4 hours of sleep a night and I don't need sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead. But that is absolutely will kill you. And it'll take 10 years off of your life. And there's so many stats behind cancer and behind all of these different diseases out there that if we're not sleeping, our body is not healing itself. And it affects everything. So, I mean, I think what we really want to do is when someone comes into our store, it's just finding out what the why is. Their sleep divorce is a thing where husbands and wives are in two different rooms. I recommend it if you're just absolutely not sleeping good, because sleep is so important. But sometimes we can help with that and get them back into the same room if it is, restless leg or acid reflux or snoring or whatever it may be, to help them figure out how do they get that challenge fixed or get them into separate in the same room. Which, again, there's so much connection involved in sleep in the same room too, so I think sleep is really, it is one of the most underrated conversations still. Everybody knows now for the first time, I think people are talking about it as they're talking about organic and all these other things, but they're not really understanding why and how. 67% of Americans are not sleeping good, and 80% of that 67% don't know how to fix it. They know they need to sleep better, and they know that they're not sleeping good at night, but they're like, I got nothing. I don't know how to fix it. Where do I go? Sleep doctor's only going to go so far. Chiropractor's going to go so far. A good pillow or a good sheet or a good mattress is only going to go so far. But what is it? And how do I know it's in it for me? And I think when Snooze was built, the whole premise of our 8 steps to the sale is to understand when they come in, what is their why, and then fit them through technology, and then fit them through, your pillow is from here to here. When someone calls and says, Matt, what pillow should I buy or what mattress should I buy? Everybody's different. I can't just say, Kendra, this is the best pillow for you, because you're different. Your measure is different from here to here. And then if you're on a memory foam mattress, you sink in more. If you're on a hard mattress, you sink in higher. So, but really taking sleep seriously and finding out what is the environment of the room. I always talk about Pavlov's law of if you could go into your bedroom and it was cold and it smelled like lavender and it was dark and there was a white noise in the background, your brain would go, okay, it's time for bed. It would just literally, it would salivate like the dog did in Pavlov's law. You would just be like, okay, it's time for bed. But in America, we get on our phones and we're playing in our bedroom and we're emailing and we're checking on TikTok or whatever out there, and our brains are going a million miles an hour. Yeah, good luck if you just got a bad email right before you went to bed. You're going to sleep tonight. Good luck with that,
Mm-hmm.
Or you saw something on, whatever, your news channel or something that just made you distraught. There's so much more than just a good mattress or good sleep. So I think our mission has been to educate people that just the importance of it. And go to a Snooze near you. Don't go to Snooze. I don't care. Just sleep better and understand sleep is important and research what's going on with you. There is no one size fits all. Chiropractors used to say firm beds. Now they're saying, okay, maybe that was wrong. There's just so many bad information out there, and there isn't really hey, go see Matt, he'll fix all your problems. There's no such thing as that. It really is what's going on, but really diagnose it to figure out how do you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep as an adult. 7 to 9 hours of sleep is it's a superpower, affects all of us. So yeah, I can go on for another 3.5 hours if you want me to, but I'm gonna stop right there.
Well, I think what we're hearing is that you, like me, we have found our passion industry, right?
100%.
So it's great that you can go on for a long time around this topic, because that means that you're really good at it, Matt. And I'm so grateful that you joined me today on How I Turned the Corner. So thank you so much for your time. I think that's a perfect place to cut it off. So we will see you on the other side. In the show notes, we'll put all the information for how to get in touch with Matt and potentially become one of his franchisees. Who knows? So, ooh.
Thanks, Kendra.
Thank
It was
you.
an honor. Go get some sleep out there, everybody.